What's on the agenda?
Yes, first of all, the economy.
Well, actually, everything's great here.
Yep, us too.
We're cool.
Us too.
Same here. Jill?
Yep, all good here, no problems.
Great. Okay, environment. Is anyone having any environmental problems, anyone?
No.
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 None.
Ditto.
And what about conflict, social justice, any war, any hardship, conflict in their continents?
No, we just talk it out these days.
Yeah, we find it's very helpful to write things down and then sleep on it, see if we feel the same way the next day.
Joining me now in Studio Q are two of the four Baroness Von Sketch Show cast members, Carolyn Taylor, who's also the showrunner, and Meredith MacNeil. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
So good to be here.
So that first sketch we just played there is pretty great.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it ends with the leaders going for wings.
Yes.
That's right.
And we really did. No, we didn't.
Carolyn, tell me a bit about how it came together, that particular sketch.
Oh, that particular sketch. Well, it was written by a Canadian who now lives in the UK, Mae Martin. I don't know if you're familiar with her. Hilarious gal. And gal about town. And so she pitched the idea. And generally the way a sketch works is one of the writers will write it. And then we have a team of story editors and the rest of the writers. And we come together and kind of punch it up. And so it was just sort of a light take on imagining the future, of women ruling all the continents. What are the name of some of our continents?
Yeah, I like the continent names.
Yeah.
So.
I can't even.
I think it's like old South America and
Yeah, and I think they changed. I think we really got into naming the continents, and then we kept changing them.
Chinistan, and then I think there's California. Is its own
I think
continent.
California got it straight up.
Meredith, is there a particular moment in that sketch that cracks you up when you listen back?
I think it was what food item we were going to go for after. So with all sketches, we act what's on the page, but we'll also improv on top of that. So every time we left, I was just excited. So it was wings. The one that got on there was wings, but there was tacos. We were going for some tacos. One was a sorbet. We were hoping to go for some
nice sorbet to cleanse the palate after the sketch. Yeah.
So Meredith, we don't just mainly see women on screen with the show, but also behind the scenes. Most of the key creative roles are women. That doesn't happen often in television.
Yeah, we feel very blessed about that.
What's that been like, this experience?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to be working with such creative people and some of your best friends in the biz. And Alicia Young is director and Catherine Lutz was DOP. And when we met Alicia, we were pretty excited to sort of, we knew right away, didn't we, Carolyn, that she was the one for us.
Yeah.
And she came in and we chatted with her and she was really thrilled with the idea and she really wanted to fulfill our vision.
Yeah.
Has it been a unique experience for you as well, Carolyn?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, all the showrunners I've worked with so far have been men and some wonderful men I've worked for, but it's actually pretty exciting to have all women. I mean, female showrunner, director, DOP, like Mare was saying.
And also
the
late
cast,
30s into their
writers.
40s.
Yeah,
as well.
into our 40s. It really was fantastic because everyone's, worked in the industry for a long time. So for all of us to just get together and come together and create something as artists felt like such a privilege. Yeah.
Carolyn, this show isn't driven by news or pop culture. It's more about everyday kind of life and the things all around us. What kinds of things were you excited about satirizing?
Well, I like satirizing like the small moments between people, the interpersonal dynamics, the things that are in play sort of outside of absurdity, but just sort of those truths between people. And I'm looking at Meredith. Like, we shot 114 sketches. I'm like, I can't think of a single one right now.
Was there anything that you hadn't seen represented or satirized? Maybe that will jog your memory a little bit, that you were excited to kind of tackle with this.
Yeah, well, what I love about the show, especially as a show with all women, is are you aware of the Bechdel test?
Yes.
Alison Bechdel. So the Bechdel test, where we actually it was exciting to have characters who aren't just talking about problems with men, women talking to women about whatever, strange office politics, whatever seems to be going on in their lives.
And I think we got the Bechdel, we passed with every sketch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of office stuff, I noticed.
There is.
What do you love about office kind of nuances and absurdities, Meredith?
Well, I feel like most of the room and a lot of people have at one point spent some time in an office. And I think that culture is really ripe for satirizing. And also, like, the truth of human dynamics really comes alive in an office. So I think there's lots of stuff to look at. I get really excited as well, like, when I speak, because we really want the show to be relatable. Mm-hmm. So it's like for our moms and our friends, like, I love to call home to Pictou, Nova Scotia and hear their stories about what happens in office and sort of bring it to the writing room.
Because we haven't worked in offices like actual, I mean, I certainly did at the when I was starting out as an adult in the world. But my references are like, oh, the fax machine is broken. And it was like, actually, that's not what it happens in an office these days. So we had to sort of ask our friends who are, thriving in office environments, what happens in an
Carolyn,
office.
do you remember the day that we had to go shoot in an office? Actually, we shot in the CBC building on the last 3 days. It's a 100% location. So it was at the end of the shoot, we had 3 days in one location. We were like, woohoo. Yeah. And I sat down at a desk sort of like to try it out, even though I had worked in office, but it's been so long. And then we came up with this game. I was like, okay, Meredith. Carolyn was like, how long do you think you could last before you just showed up at work one day, before anyone asked what you're doing here, and that I could just fake it?
How long could you fake being in an office? Like, is it just sort of performing office? So we sort of.
And they were like, ladies, it's time to get to set. I was like, yeah. We're just playing this office game first.
You do shoot on location, as you mentioned.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, what's that been like?
Pretty amazing to have all of like downtown Toronto as your dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, we were flying around town, we had a unit move every day.
Just
almost every day.
Changing on the streets?
Well, I did have a moment where I was like, and I was like, oh, it's weird. People are like really looking at me, and I know the show hasn't aired, and I don't understand. I have no idea what I'm doing, if something on my face. And then I walked by sort of a window. So when I had like my hair in like huge rollers, my bathrobe on, I think I had slippers on. I could have been in bare feet. So I think that you just really got used to like running from your trailer to set.
Yeah. And kids sort of like pointing at you, and in your trailers they walk by school kids like, hey.
Yeah, kids were the best. I used to love it. When we would ever shoot by schools, I'd love to get them going. And the thing that they always said, which was amazing, they're like, I could be on your show. And I was like, you can. And they're like, Meredith, step away from the children.
So you and your castmates, you met through Second City, and This Hour Has 22 Minutes. Carolyn, what did you think of Meredith the first time you met her?
Well, that's a great question. I'd done many seasons, several seasons on 22 Minutes, and I'd left and came back after a break from it. And so Meredith was doing some small parts on the show, and I saw her in the background of some sketch, and I was like, who's that? She's hilarious. I just couldn't get my eyes off her. So I marched down to her dressing room and was like, I want to work with you. And so we started.
That was it, really.
That was
wasn't
it. That was the moment, yeah.
And then we started to, like, any spare moment we would start jamming together on this idea. And to the point when Carolyn went back to Toronto and I went back to Nova Scotia, I would like fly up to Carolyn.
And we'd plot and plan of like how to get a show on the air and how are we going to do it. And it takes strategy. I mean, it takes a lot of work. There's, to do.
And we get really creative. We'd like we'd go to the Met Show to get our food. Yeah. Be like, I have 42 cents left. Let's take what we have, a couple of lemons. And one time we designed the show with lemons and tomatoes across her table.
On my
just doing the
table.
stage plot.
No, we were like, okay, so we have a channel. Okay, let's just start. It's like, so who's the head of the world? So we start with them. And then from there you have, this is what an executive producer, and we would just sort of plan it out, right? Like we would geek out seriously on every element of the show.
How much does your friendship bring to this show?
So
Tons.
much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're all friends. We have we have long history of friendship. I mean, Meredith and I have known each other about 4 years, but
I'm the newest member.
Yeah, the newest member. But Aurora and I have known each other from Second City, 15, 16, 17 years. Jen Whalen and I as well. We've worked together on improvising around the city together. So we have a long friendship, a long history, and that just makes it really easy. And that was part of what we wanted for our vibe. It makes
we have
it
a great
trust.
shorthand because of our friendship as well, and being women.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I was a newbie. I was in the UK for a long time. So without Carolyn, I would have met no one. So it was crazy to come back to Canada and be like, oh my God, I don't know this scene at all. So thanks, Carolyn.
Hey, you're welcome,
Do
Meredith.
you guys have fun with satirizing female friendships on the show?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. We do.
What are some of your favorite dynamics to skewer?
Well, there was one, Jen Whalen wrote one, a sketch about someone who doesn't know where the story is. I feel like I'm a bit like this on this particular day, but where a person just rambles on about something and they keep missing the point of the story, and the friends are like, you're missing the story. So maybe that was a really poor way of explaining
I thought it was
that.
hilarious. I'm laughing.
Fantastic.
I'm laughing super hard over here.
But yeah, it's and a bit of that thing of sometimes the friends, the one who doesn't have the kid, having to endure the talk of the friends who do. And
I think like writing about friendship, the way that you all of a sudden have to look at something, I think that's what's interesting. So you have all these wonderful things in your life that you take for granted. And then you get in a writing room and you're like, oh wow, I really have to explore that. Like what is that dynamic? And I think that was one of the most exciting things for me is that I got to explore these human human dynamics with them. And it was interesting. And even when we play characters that don't really know each other, we have a sketch called Debit Issues where Carolyn and I play across the counter. I think having such a wonderful friendship brings, like having female friendships, it adds another layer to those sketches.
Yeah.
So let's talk quickly about how you got into sketch comedy. Carolyn, I understand you almost became a lawyer.
Hi, yes. Okay, great. Wow, you've done your research. I was.
You have a great lawyer name, by the way.
Do I?
Yeah. When I heard Carolyn Taylor, I was like, oh, she could.
Maybe
do law.
Shad's right. Maybe you should like rethink things.
No, I think you're doing great. But I'm just saying.
Taylor, MacNeil, Whalen, and Brown.
I would hire you if you
okay.
I would
legal
hire her
practice.
too.
I'm actually obsessed with The Good Wife, so I sort of lead this other. I'm often thinking.
I really
in
want to
legal
write
terms.
a sketch about The Good Wife.
I need to. Yeah, it's an obsession. But I was going to Queen's and I was studying political studies and at the time, and then I got into the drama production. And the director was like, you kid, you got it. And I called my mom. I was like, I am not going to be a lawyer anymore. And she was like, what? But of course, it's been wonderfully supportive afterwards. But that was the plan. And then I just got into at Queen's, there was a musical sketch troupe there and doing satire there, and then continued doing it at Second City, 22 Minutes, and on stage around the city. So that's how it started for me.
And Meredith, what about you? You trained as an actress at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
I wasn't funny for a long time. So I'm classically trained.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into it till quite late. So I went and was classically trained, and then I worked at the Royal Shakespeare Company, Globes Theatre, and it wasn't until I had an audition for a commercial in the UK, and it was the casting director of the British office saw me do this crazy commercial for like a Heat magazine, which is a bit like People. I really feel, I could be lying, I think I was jumping in and out of a garbage can. I don't know, and I think I improv that. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. And then she went to Asha Talla, which was the producer of The Office, who was starting a new sketch show, and said, you should audition this lady. So I went in, and then I did a sketch show called Man Stroke Woman. So that was like my first, and that wasn't until my late 20s, early 30s that I got into it.
Wow.
And then from there, and then I started to work.
So what was it like being a classically trained actor in a world that I'd imagine was dominated by stand-ups and improv people?
It was really amazing and strange at the same time because I was trying to merge a skill set. But then again, being from the East Coast, you're always around funny people. So I was like, I can do this. But yeah, it's true. Inside, I was a little bit intimidated because I have a lot of respect for the stand-up world. I'm always in the improv world and people that have been working at that a long time. So it was just finding my way in and what I had to offer that. And actually, sometimes it's really helpful because you sort of come at it from a different way.
I want to ask you about growing up on the East Coast because this is a Toronto-based, kind of Toronto-centered show. What do you try to bring from the East Coast, Pictou County perspective to the Toronto environment and a lot of Toronto kind of situations that you're satirizing?
Well, I think Canada's such an amazing country, and it's a wonderful, big, expansive place. So I think it's helpful that to have someone that's from a little farther away to bring those POVs over to Ontario, which they're wholly embracing. They love a good old Pictou story. I'm like, wait. So, it's just making sure that all those voices come together.
Carolyn, what do you love skewering about Toronto? And Toronto life.
Toronto. Well, I mean, it's sort of, I'm kind of making fun of myself while I'm making fun of everything. Like, I'm always listening to what people are kind of complaining about and pet peeves, and those are the things that I go towards. So my girlfriend, for example, she swims, and she hates when people swim with flippers. It just drives her crazy. She's a good swimmer. She wants to swim in the fast lane with people who, are swimming without them. So then I took that and turned it into actually probably one of the nastiest little sketches.
It seems like you have fun with people's petty concerns.
I think that's it.
Shad, that is.
It is.
Thank you. She's helped so much with all the
Everyone's
interviews.
pointing at me in the
Finally
studio. I
understand
think it's in a good way. Okay.
It truly is the petty concerns that delight me, and then I like to expose them. I like to turn them on their heads, and then I like to play with the idea that there doesn't have to be the good guy and the bad guy. Like everyone's all parts of us. There's our reprehensible parts of ourselves, and like it's fun to play with those bits and see the humor in it instead of vilifying some and idealizing others. Just finding there never seems to be a true winner in any scene. Everyone has sort of we're
trying to find like the whole person.
Everyone's a little bit horrible.
Everyone's a little bit horrible.
So tune in.
Well, on that note, I want to play a bit of a sketch here. I can't wait to hear what inspired this one.
How'd everyone sleep?
Really well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like a log. Like a log.
Well as I.
And to wake up here, how fantastic
I
is that?
know. Well, we're happy.
So Caesar.
It's 10 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, we're at the cottage. Come on. It's noon somewhere, right?
That's so funny.
I'll have one. I will take one of those.
No, you're not going to have? Are you?
We're at the cottage.
Oh, come on! We're at the cottage! Come on!
Okay, we'll have a Caesar.
Right on, atta girls.
Women.
Oh.
Let it slide. Just let it slide. We're at the cottage.
Okay.
Carolyn, this is your favorite bit that you wrote for the show. Tell me what inspired that particular sketch.
Well, that is inspired by pretty much Ontario cottage country. I'm sure, there are cottagers around, though, Americans are like, it's called the cabin, and other people, it's called camp, But at the cottage, it's sort of, I have a cottage, and there is that feeling of when you're up there, it's a little of what happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas, tiny bit. Like, people are drinking, at 10 in the morning, and I promise you, anyone who's going to be spending time up north this summer, if someone brings out Caesars at 10 in the morning, someone's going to say, well, it's noon somewhere. There's this justification of smoking doobies and drinking at 10 in the morning. And another part of the sketch that I like is there's a couple, and it's Meredith is one of them. Meredith and Aurora Brown play a couple who've come up, and you can tell they've had a fight the night before. And that happens at the cottage, too. Like, who have you invited up? And, what is their history?
Yeah, Aurora and I would have so much fun doing the backstory before we even play. We'd be off in the corner, be like, okay, this was our fight. This is what it was about. Okay, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, we get really excited about playing the smaller roles in everybody's sketch.
And just being inviting someone up who's in a relationship with someone who's kind of a bit of a downer, you're just like, come on, have some fun. And there is sort of that thing of, we're at the cottage that, we'll all get in the hot tub and we all know that.
And we'll only have guacamole for supper.
Yeah, and everyone wonders why they're passed out at, 10 p.m. or something.
Carolyn, you play the instigator in that
do.
particular sketch, trying to get people day drinking.
Yes.
What are your favorite sorts of characters to play? Is that?
I love playing people like that. I love to play instigators and alcoholics. No, I like to play people who resemble everyday people who just are a little off kilter. So those are my favorite to play. I'm not as good at playing really big, wacky characters. That isn't my favorite. I like to play people who are relatable, odd, and just like to stir the pot a tiny bit in whatever way they do.
And Meredith, you're the uptight one in this particular sketch. What are your favorite sorts of roles to play on this show?
I oddly love to play awkward moments. And I love an awkward moment. And sometimes I'm like, Meredith, stop improving. And I'll just go really down this weird hole of how awkward and real can you make this? Because there's a strange place. When I was young and if you went to a party and someone was having a good time, I really took it upon myself. I had a lot of empathy. I was so worried about them. And I would end up being then I would become the weird, awkward one. So it's really great to sort of relive that and make me like, how weird can I make this and still believable?
Mae Martin calls that being the party martyr. So if a party's not going well or it's a bit awkward, then you make yourself sort of the one that people...
This interview's going really good. One, you called me amazing, and now officially I'm a martyr. I feel like I need a t-shirt when I leave the studio. Amazing. I'm an awkward martyr. My parents are going to be so proud.
Sort of wrapping up here, Carolyn, as I said, these sketches are based on everyday life.
Yes.
So what's it like then for your friends and your family nowadays as you walk around looking at the world through totally different eyes, trying to find things to satirize?
People are terrified. My sister's like, you're not making fun of me, are you? Or that character was named Janet. Is that after me? I'm like, I didn't even write it. It's my cousin.
So funny. I have the opposite. I have people call me up going, you should use this one. I got this one.
Yeah.
Please say this.
Yeah, it's true. It is funny. I think people are a little scared, and it's true. They are often giving us ideas for sketches, but I'm listening all the time. I mean, for anything, because like we said before, we shot 114 sketches, so many.
We
so
wrote
everything
300 sketches.
Yeah, so
Wow.
everything becomes material.
Has it affected how you look at the world as well, Meredith?
Oh my gosh, all the time. About 2 weeks ago, I was with my daughter and I was trying to get her ready to go off to school. We're subletting this house in Toronto, and then I just hit a nail with my foot and I ripped part of my foot. And right away I was like, oh, no, that's fine. It's fine. I got this. And then my friends are like, are you okay? I was like, no, it's fine. I probably need a couple stitches, but I think I'm fine. I'm like, right away, I'm like, this is a sketch. Do you know what I mean? So even with your own personal pain,
Her foot is gangrenous, and it's like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah,
But you're just sitting there
Shad,
writing.
I've lost 2 toes, but I'm telling you, it's hilarious.
Season finale.
Yeah.
So what do you hope viewers take away from Baroness Von Sketch Show? I'll start with you, Carolyn. There's a lot of positive buzz around this right now.
Yeah.
What are you hoping people take away? say?
Well, I hope that they just kick back. I mean, my dream is that people are sitting around the city, like tonight, they're like, the kids have gone to bed, right? And they're sitting down to watch the show.
Dream.
Yeah, they poured themselves a nice glass of wine. Look, here I am instigating again, promoting drinking. But it's, the kids are going to bed. The kids have asked for a glass of water. They've had their story, like they're gone. And you're in the basement or wherever your television is.
At the cottage.
At the cottage. And you've tuned into CBC and you have yourself a laugh and you look at it and you go, oh my God, that's me. Or, oh no, that's my sister, or that's my mother. Or, oh please, I've been in that situation and I don't ever want to be again. I hope that they feel awkward. I hope that they feel delighted. I hope that they cringe. I hope that they have a good old-fashioned LOL, as the kids call it.
I love that.
What kids call it.
I love the LOL is old-fashioned.
I know. Yeah, that's right. A contemporary LOL. And just really laugh and forget their worries and have
a good time.
And maybe see parts of themselves on screen.
Meredith, what about you?
What she said. Yeah. No, I just want people to be able to see themselves and relate and be like, yep, that's happened. That's great. And I'm so glad that someone's using their voice to say that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and of course we don't represent everyone. We know that. So just caveat.
Maybe the martyr does. Maybe the awkward martyr might.
Represents everyone.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. A lot of fun.
Shad. Thanks so much for having us.